Welcome to the Interior Analysis Podcast. I'm Jelani Kelly.
I'm Evan Westman.
And
I'm Ahsan.
We have a special guest today, returning for the second time. We have Ahsan, Naazim, Dowling. I don't know if you know.
I jumped the gun there.
No, that's no problem. Welcome, Ahsan. Today we're talking about the Snyder Cut version of the Justice League that has been in the works for about 3.5 years now. Some people didn't ever expect it to happen, and then we got a trailer at some point last year, and now the movie's out. We're going to get into initial reactions and all sorts of things like we normally do. It's kind of like a special episode, so I want to know like everyone's expectations going into this. Let's start with a few from you, Ahsan.
My expectations going into this, I wasn't expecting the film to be anything groundbreaking. I wasn't expecting it to be, anything better than what Marvel has put out. But at the very least, I expected it to be better than what Joss Whedon did. Once I was looking up the behind the scenes things about how Joss changed everything and how Zack's vision wasn't really what we saw in the film, and then Zack was doing those cryptic tweets, after release or whatever. I really have my expectations that it was at least going to be better than what we saw in theaters, but nothing too crazy. So I was in the middle.
Evan?
Yeah, so people who have listened to the show probably know this already, but I am not as much of a DC fan. I did not see the original Justice League, so I'd heard about the Snyder Cut, but I didn't really have expectations of what is this going to be versus the original. I knew a little bit about it. But every time it came up, for my internship, I worked at AfterBuzz TV, which is they do podcasts about mostly TV shows, but they had a whole channel for DC. And I didn't work that closely with them, at least no more or less than anywhere else. But every couple weeks while I was working there, I'd see the title of one of their videos would be something about some news about the Snyder Cut. And every time I saw it, I'd be like, guys, you're just getting your expectations way too high. I didn't say that out loud. I was mostly to myself, but as soon as I heard about the Snyder Cut, I was like, okay, I understand where DC fans are coming from, because I have a lot of movies, or a few at least, that I would love to have the creators get a second chance at. I want a better version of The Hobbit. I want a better Game of Thrones season 8. I want a better At World's End.
People want that.
Yeah, it's not as if, this is kind of every fan's dream. Everyone's got a movie that they want a Snyder Cut of. But the thing about it is, I always went back to this, it's Zack Snyder. And he's not, I have never thought that he is going to be the guy to deliver the movie that people wanted. He makes video game cutscenes. He does cool stuff. But, you guys can probably speak better to what people were frustrated with the original, but Zack Snyder has never been into telling good stories. Jelani and I were talking about this briefly off air a couple days ago. I think you said something if this was a different director, I'd be psyched, but it's him. So, and we can get into how well he stuck the landing, but that was my feeling beforehand. And then I saw Batman v Superman, and that kind of solidified it, especially because I saw the Ultimate Cut, which was if anything is Zack Snyder's vision for DC, I feel like it's probably that. And it's not cohesive, and apparently it's a lot better than the theatrical one. I don't know what the differences are. There was one thing about apparently both their moms' names were Martha. I'm assuming that got cut, but what do I know?
Wait, was that not in the director's? Or
no, I was saying. Oh wait,
Ultimate
no,
Cut?
that was in there. I'm assuming it got cut from the theatrical.
No,
that was
very much in there.
That pissed
I'm kind
everybody
of
off.
kidding. I knew about that, but I feel like that should have been cut. Yeah, that was basically my feeling on it. Long and short of it, Zack Snyder is not going to deliver what people think he is, was basically my take on it prior to it coming out.
And we're all, I believe we're all at different spots as far as what we know happens in the DC EU. Like, I personally am caught up on all the movies besides, I haven't seen, like, the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman. I don't really have an interest in seeing that again. Evan, what movies haven't you seen out of the DCEU?
I'm trying to think what actually counts. Is Shazam part of that?
Yeah,
Okay, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Aquaman.
that's fine. You don't.
I think that's it. Cause let me list off what I have seen, and you can double check that. I've seen Man of Steel,
Mm-hmm.
Batman v Superman, Ultimate, and then both Wonder Womans.
Suicide Squad?
Oh wait, yeah, I saw that too.
Okay.
And then I didn't see the original Justice League.
Okay. And Ahsan, you.
I've seen everything except for Shazam, Birds of Prey, and the Wonder Woman
Birds
movies.
of Prey.
I was supposed to be.
I have not
I really
seen
want to see
Birds
the
of Prey
first Wonder
either.
Woman. I heard Wonder Woman was actually the best one. I'm kind of upset I didn't see it, so I gotta get on that.
Yeah, I mean, they told a good story in less than double the time this movie had, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my expectations, going into it real quick, like I said before, there's just 3.5, almost 4 years of putting this together. A lot of people just didn't expect it to happen. So I was expecting it to be the best damn superhero movie ever, because they had a lot of time to make it, and it was 4 hours. I heard it was supposed to be a series at some point, and I'm glad they just decided to make it a really long movie. I heard so many different times for it. I heard 6 hours at one point. I was like, dog, like, that's a quarter of a day dedicated to one movie. I don't want that. And it was rated R. When I heard it was rated R, I was expecting a lot of gore and hella swearing, but there were like a total of 3 F-bombs spread across the entire thing, and like a few gory shots for like the parademon bad guys. I mean, we did a whole episode on the MPAA rating system, and they didn't give you your 3 F-bombs, Evan.
I was kind of thinking that when I was watching it. I was like, oh, we finally have a 3 F-word movie here.
Yep, but it was rated R because of that. I really wanted them to go all out. I was expecting way more gore than what was shown, because, you know, like I said, it was rated R. You don't see a whole lot of rated R superhero movies because of the whole MCU making money thing. But yeah.
Yeah, well, Zack Snyder also, like, in his R-rated content, he goes really hard with the gore and some, like, 300 is an incredibly bloody movie.
Right.
So, and, like, maybe that has to do with the production, because, of course, this would have been PG-13 if he had, like, done it traditionally and, like, finished the project. So maybe that was part of it. Like, it's kind of a lower R because he was expecting a PG-13 restraint, I would guess.
Yeah. He didn't want to go like over the top, I'm guessing.
Well, he probably knew he wasn't allowed to for the start. So then when he got the freedom to, he kind of had to retrofit a little. But then, like, yeah, I was kind of expecting a little more all out. But it sort of makes sense that he ended up kind of having a diluted, at least for an R-rated movie, a diluted level of intensity.
I know we're going to get to it, but that last shot, that last death in the movie, that was kind of satisfied like the little bit of art that he had in the movie. That decapitation.
I feel like they could have got away with that.
PG-13, yeah. If there was like
there's
no
a shot
blood or
like
something.
that in the first Hobbit movie, and that's PG-13.
You know what? You know, I think about it. You're right, because they didn't. When she sliced
They didn't
his
even
head,
show it.
They didn't
Yeah.
show it go through. Yeah, it was like a behind him.
Then the blood on the sword, and then his head flew off. And I was like, oh.
I was just comparing it to how he died in the original, and like that's just it. Just wasn't
got
even, like close.
Scarred
Yeah,
in the
when he died in
original,
the
like
original.
Lion
Yeah.
King. Scarred. Like.
Oh wait, did they do the
And then he,
classic
like,
villain
teleport-
cliff thing in the original?
No, he got eaten by his
No.
own people for some reason, and then got teleported
okay.
away.
And then he teleported away, so we didn't even see the whole thing
Yeah.
because the whole concept of fear and Superman scared him. It was really stupid.
So, if that's it for expectations, let's get into the actual everything that happened. There was a lot of humor they got rid of over the course of the movie, and I'm guessing a lot of the jokes that weren't landing were Joss Whedon's jokes, like I heard you could talk to fish. They completely got rid of that line, and anything at the end where Superman was joking and it felt like he had been completely different since he had died and all that. at the beginning, I saw Willem Dafoe's name in the credits. I was like, oh, he's in this. And then I remembered he was an Aquaman. I don't know why I forgot that. But I'm going to start with that Wonder Woman scene in the bank. I don't know how they made that better than what it originally was, but I think that scene was godly, and not just in a metaphorical sense. Maybe it was the music, but I feel like they really did make her feel like a god among men in that scene, where it seems like there was nothing the cops could do to save the people from the terrorists in that bank. And then there was that what's it called, ancient lamentation chanting music that people are just so pissed off about online, because every time Wonder Woman showed
anytime
up,
there's like, with the subtitles, I noticed that too. It's like
she would take a step and that music would start blaring, and I'm like, that's not even her theme. Why are they doing that?
Her theme is sick though.
Yeah,
like that. That's probably, and of course that's a Hans theme. So Hans bringing his contribution to it.
But I also, like, after watching this, there was, like, a Reddit post on r/movies, and people were pointing out flaws here and there. Like, for example, in that Wonder Woman bank scene, like, when the dude was reloading his gun, and she could have easily just stopped him from reloading. Instead, she did her gauntlet clash thing, and it, like, blew up the entire floor.
An issue with that.
Like the bomb probably would have, like, it would have done more, but like she didn't need to do that there. She could have just did something normal, but I don't know, DC destruction.
Right. And as soon as I saw that too, I was like, wait a minute, how did that not just like collapse everyone in like the roof on everyone in the building right there? Like, you took out all the supports.
Right.
Like, that didn't seem like a smart move.
I don't know at what point I was asking, but I just have a note saying where Darkseid at, because I really wanted to see him. I was really excited to see him. I thought he would do more ultimately, but I knew deep down he wouldn't, because they didn't want to show everything from him, because I always thought it was Steppenwolf. It was just spelled with an extra P for some reason. Apparently it's Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
Stephen Wolf.
Steven.
That's it.
Wolf.
That's his human name.
Yeah.
Stephen Wolf.
Also, his CGI looks way better in this movie than the original. In the original, he looked like a PS1 character.
Yeah, he did. A lot of the CGI, in my opinion, looks better in this movie. And I think it's because of the slow motion.
That's what I had, bro. That's what I wrote down. I said Snyder's slow motion actually helps to see the CGI action.
Even that final battle, like in the first movie, like it was like a lot of red hues and like lighting that make it look the sky a little bit brighter, and that it was like a clusterfuck of just colors and shit, and it's just way too like intense. So with the darker skies in this version, it just helped out a lot better. Like you could actually follow the action better, in my opinion. Easier on the eyes.
The Amazon scene, like when they were trying to get the Also, wait, real quick. Why were the humans the only ones that didn't have some sort of special way of dealing with the box? Like, the Amazonians had, like, 3 walls, and then it was floating under the water, and there was water and fish and all this stuff around it. The Amazons had, like, freaking, a suicide method of keeping the box away from the bad people. And then the humans were just like, yep, this looks like a good spot to bury it. And then they left it.
And
then Nazis.
Okay, so what
Nazis.
happened with it though? Because they had that backstory where it was like, okay, like the Greek gods basically fought against Darkseid the first time. They split up all the boxes, and then like I guess the humans just bury their box. But then how does it get to? How did it get to Cyborg? Am I just forgetting? Because there was a lot in this.
They said something about the Nazis having.
Oh right,
from
yes.
there,
Okay, there was an explanation.
Yeah, Silas got his hands on it. I forget how he got it, but he got it and opened it.
It was not. It's always Nazis. Also, in that flashback scene where they were all teaming up, they made Darkseid look like such a bitch. Like, he came down, he was like, boom, I'm here, motherfuckers. And then, like, the whole army was behind him. And then he got clapped by, like, 3 people. One of them was Zeus, granted, but, like, really? Bro, this is the big bad. You show him get dragged away by his minions. Like,
I was expecting the Omega Vision.
I was expecting way more.
Not just in that, like, that nightmare scene, because we only saw it one time, and, like, a scene that never really happened. I was expecting that, but then I was assuming that the anti-life equation would give him the Omega Vision. but they didn't really like say that outright. So I don't know if that's true or not. Because like he has no reason to not use it. If you're trying to take over a planet, like that's the time to use it.
I also wanted to see more cameos of the people of Apocalypse. Like we saw Granny Goodness and Decide, but like the female Furies and all that. But whatever. The Amazons, for some reason, well, there's a good reason for this, but to me they felt like a female 300 squad when they were like trying to stop Steppenwolf from getting the box or escaping with the box. That whole scene where they were I think it was the first scene where they showed up and they were like firing arrows, and then the queen was running away and closing the walls behind her, and then the thing fell into the water. I don't know, it felt like a female 300. There was a lot of slow motion in that too, and they just kept getting clapped left and right. So overall, I really enjoyed the slow pacing, the learning about the characters and all this. I don't know how they could have done it in an hour or 2 hours, but however long the original was. I don't know how they could have done it then, but a lot of the characters, like Cyborg, for example, had justice done to them because there was way more to their character.
Absolutely.
I'm not a fan of Cyborg's CGI, or I guess it's just his suit design. He looks really strange and very thin, but I don't know how natural you could make a dude where the actor is only showing half of his face and the rest is CGI. I don't know how you do that. Speaking more about Cyborg, what he did for that lady almost got me, man. Like the mother who, you guys remember that?
Yeah, when he like hacks the ATM.
Yeah, bro, that was like, it was just a good scene. Also, this movie, and I guess Zack Snyder is sponsored by Mercedes because there were a lot of Mercedes in this movie. Batman had a Mercedes. I don't know how Wonder Woman got a Mercedes. I guess 5,000 years of working will get you a Mercedes at some point. I also liked that Flash knew how to be a superhero. Like, there was no save one person, I just push people really fast and then run away thing. He obviously knows what to do. In the original, I know you didn't see the original, Evan, but like he was very much not hero-like. Like they were treating him like it was his first day out as a superhero, even though he had been a hero for a while and had like this advanced suit and all of this. And in this, he knew what to do, and he had the whole scene at the end with the rewinding time.
Yeah, we'll get into my takes on it later, but yeah, I have heard about some of the differences. I think I've seen the scene you're talking about where he pushes the family in the truck away.
Yeah, they got rid of that family at the end. The fact that there was ever a population in that city at the end, I'm glad they got rid of, because they were already saving the world. I don't know if they also needed to save people at the same time. Plus, getting rid of the population, there was less. You don't get a repeat of the end of Man of Steel. So, okay, there's a big twist at some middle point of this movie. Ahsan, I don't know if this was one of the things that got spoiled for you. Martian Manhunter?
Yeah. Zack kind of revealed that after the whole entire Justice League thing when he got removed from it. Mm-hmm. He revealed that general was Martian Man the whole time.
Oh.
So he kind of like gave that away. But in terms of him being in the film, yeah, that did get spoiled for me, unfortunately.
My jaw dropped when I saw it because I had never heard anything even remotely close to what you just said. Nope, I was not. This was something I was not expecting. And then he showed up again at the end.
When I first heard about it, that Zack did that, my jaw dropped kind of like you did. But I wish I would have heard of it in the film. You know, I wish like Zack wouldn't have to like say what his plans were in order for him to get like a second chance at like what his vision was. You know what I mean?
I mean, like I understood when I saw that, like I didn't know he was Martian Manhunter until he said he was, and we'll get to that because the way that happened was weird. But
it was very weird.
We'll get to that. I want to talk about all the dialogue and that scene especially too. But like that scene where he shows up and he shapeshifts into Martha first and does that whole thing and then shapeshifts away. At first I was like, all right, that happens. So maybe he's like he's a villain trying to like manipulate Lois to do whatever. But one, what was that for? And then two, as I don't know when, I think it was some point after finishing watching it, I was like, hold on a second. If Martha and Lois met back up, like at some point there would be a disconnect there, because like they apparently had this deep moment together, and we'll get to whether that's actually deep or not, too.
She said,
But-
"Get out the house," and Lois was like,
Yeah.
"You're right about that."
Right. Okay. She said get out of the house, but Martha wasn't the one who heard that, and like, so that like at some point I feel like there's a scene that would have happened where they would have been like, oh, remember I told you to get out of the house? No, that never happened. No, you came to my apartment. Wait, no, I never came to you. Like what?
I don't even know where you
Yeah,
live.
so that never happened. That scene really never happened, and it didn't seem like it had a purpose. It was just like, yo, Martian Manhunter's here. But like, it didn't make like. I get that it's cool, like it's a cool cameo. I guess it didn't land for me. I'm sure it landed for a lot of people, but like, it's just so weird the way he's included there. And then at the end, do we want to save the conversation of his name drop for later? Or
No,
do we
I
wanna get-
really wanted to say, like, he introduced himself to Batman, the guy who's skeptical about everything ever. He was like, yeah, my name, by the way, is Alien Human Killer. Like,
right
after they just saved the world, and then he kind of just went
Yeah.
back to bed.
Which is like, isn't that exactly what he thought of Superman as? Like
Right.
alien man killer and Batman v Superman. And the way he introduces his name, it's like, "Oh, what's your name? Oh, well, I've gone by many names. What? And then he like moves on to something else. By the way, Martian Manhunter. Whoa, Martian Manhunter. Like,
Yeah.
That-
The way they introduce superhero aliases is like a big thing for me because it always sounds corny in the
Yeah.
movies. Like, because if you read the comics or lots of shows, like, oh, that's Spider-Man. Like, but how are you going to introduce like that weird name into the movie? Like, finding a way to do that, they always go with like the news or the media, like, oh, they're calling him Batman, oh, they're calling him Superman. That's what they usually go
Yeah.
to. Saying my name is Martian Manhunter is just really like not how a conversation would go.
well, it's
Get
also
Will
the
Smith to say
timing.
it.
Like him introducing himself as,
Yeah.
as Martian Manhunter. That makes sense. It's the way he did it, where it's like, I've gone by many names, but I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm going to save it for the very end of the conversation. That's like only there to be like a big fan service moment.
Get
Like,
Will
there's
Smith to
really
say-
no
Exactly.
reason he should have, like, in a logical conversation, he just would have just said, oh, call me Martian Manhunter. All right, cool.
What a
Like-
reach.
I also don't like I also don't like Batman's demeanor in that conversation. Like he like was very relaxed and like trusting, and that's just not like his character at all. Like
Yeah.
even in the cartoon, if you want to count that, he wouldn't even shake Martian Manhunter's hand when they first met. Superman was like he doesn't trust people, so that's just how he is. Like Batman just waking up out of bed with bedhead and like walking up and like no gadget, nothing in his hand, so a dude floating in the sky. Like that could have been a villain for all he knew. Like it just did not fit at all.
Yeah.
But
Martian Manhunter, if
had,
he
like, a
so
issue
chose,
with
could have easily clapped him right there. Like,
exactly. Like so that's just not Batman's character is another topic I want to talk about with this film, but we'll get to it later.
there were two future scenes. There was one in the epilogue, and then what was the one in the middle of the movie?
I feel like I'm remembering it too. Was it Cyborg's vision? I feel like he was the one who.
Oh yeah, the script. Okay, so I'm talking about. Okay, Ahsan sent me a script a while back about what Justice League 2 and 3 were supposed to be about, and seeing that, like after reading that and then seeing some of the stuff that was mentioned in that article in this kind of blew my mind. I don't want to talk too much about it here in case it does get made down the line for sake of spoilers and all that. That was just a cool thing to see. Oh yeah, that scene where Superman sees Flash is still the greatest in my opinion, even with all the added content in this movie. Superman moving at the same speed that Flash, or almost the same speed that Flash was moving. Like when Flash is trying to run behind him and Superman tilts his head and starts moving with him. That's probably still one of my favorite scenes ever. And that Superman versus Justice League fight felt like any time Hulk has ever fought the Avengers in any comic or form of media. I just thought that was cool because there was nothing they could really do about it. Like Batman was just standing by the police car, and then as soon as Superman got done with the rest of the people that actually had superpowers, he just started lasering him, and Batman was about to get finished, but then Superman got horny once Lois showed up. So I didn't understand at first why Dr. Stone killed himself, and I was worried they wouldn't explain it because I was wondering where Joker was at, like once the movie was wrapping up. I was like, wasn't that scene at the end supposed to be like a flash that Batman had at some point? But I guess they made it the dream at the end. And he didn't. My last thing is he didn't say "We live in a society" line that was in
I
the
was waiting
trailer.
for that too.
I was so disappointed. He had the whole bad laugh and everything, and an entire monologue. I was waiting for the "We live in a society."
Right, so now I guess that was just like the trailer maker just trolling everyone and being
bait.
like, all right, let's capitalize on the meme
bait.
community here. Like,
He looks good as Joker. It's just I don't know if I don't believe him, but it just feels like he's hamming it up or something. I don't know, man. But that was it for reactions from me. Ahsan, do you have any initial reactions or things you wanted to say about over the course of the movie, like scene stuff?
I'm trying to think of what we didn't cover. I guess from the intro, I really like the fact that they changed that whole Batman Aquaman scene because when Josh adding jokes to the film, that just not only were they not hitting, they were just out of character. Even though Batman vs Superman was a very like mediocre movie, like the characters kind of had like their own like aura or like personality that Zack established. Even in Man of Steel, like Superman was a lot more grounded, a lot more darker than what we're used to. And whether or not comic fans are okay with that, if it's for the film's sake, let's just stick with it, you know? And Josh kind of like scrapped a lot of that. In the Batman scene, when he came to meet Aquaman, a lot of that dialogue felt like he came in there without a plan. And that's not something that like Batman would ever do. And I was hoping that Batman would like understand their language, but like play dumb, which is what we got to see in this version of the film. So it felt a lot more authentic. Moving along to like when Steppenwolf came in, I guess from that 300 scene that you're talking about, it was cool seeing the CGI. Like Steppenwolf looked like he had like a lot more weight to his swings. The CGI looked like
fucking him up.
Yeah, he's bigger. Every time he swung the axe, you felt the weight, which is hard to do in animation when you're animating like a character to do something. Displaying weight is very difficult, so it looked really realistic.
Also, I think Steppenwolf's armor was like that in the original. Like when they shot him with the armor and he quite literally just flexed the arrows out. I don't think that was in the original.
I don't think it was. A lot of that, like when he lifted the horse up in one hand and threw that, I don't remember that being in the film. And like he just looked really like bad, for lack of a better word, in the initial film.
Did you guys think he was more sympathetic? I
In this film?
kind of felt a little bit like in the original. He kind of just felt like mustache twirling type, but like had a weird mother complex. I'm glad they got rid of him like doing the creepy thing with the mother boxes, kind of in this one.
His motive felt a lot more like relatable because he's trying to prove himself,
right?
And, like make up for what he lost.
What did he do that made Darkseid kick him out? Like I feel like it was something real small, like he ate the last Oreo or something, and then Darkseid was like, "Okay, now you got to get me 50,000 planets," and it took me freaking millennia to conquer 100,000. So good luck, son.
Yeah, I actually, like, I didn't see the original, like I've said, but I almost felt a little bit bad for him when he, like, so I was like, okay, of course he's not gonna get it, but, like, I feel like I'm almost more compelled by his goal than, like, the Justice League fighting him in a weird way.
It seems more impossible. 50,000 planets, like, that just, even though we can't grasp, like, the scope of capturing one planet in real life, but, like, the idea of 50,000 planets seems like a lot, so, like, it makes us more empathetic to what he has to go through.
Well, I think it just feels like he wants it more than the Justice League want to beat him.
He also has like puppy dog eyes. Whenever he's talking,
I mean, that wasn't part of it for me.
Or Darkseid, his eyes are like really wide. He looks like an anime character. I'm like, I can't help but feel bad. Dude just wants to get home, bro.
I guess I see what you're saying. For me, I guess what I was gonna say next was I'm glad they put Iris back in the film, even though they didn't introduce her as Iris West and like officially. We just knew who that was. I'm glad they casted a black actress. That was really cool. And then I'm glad Cyborg got his just due because I feel like a lot of like the film revolved around him. A lot of his scenes they just took out of it. That goes back to Joss Whedon's character that Ray Fisher was trying to point out, that a lot of things were cut out for whatever reason it may be. And I just really hope that this is kind of proof that what Ray Fisher was saying is like justified and not made up or falsified. I was also really happy to see Superman don the black suit. I think it was really cool to get a different like just look for him and not the campy comic look that we're always used to. I really liked Man of Steel. It wasn't the greatest movie. It was not like the most well-made movie. But I just like Superman just is not really like one of my favorite characters. And I liked that I was able to watch a film that made me like somewhat care about Superman's plight or like what he like has to deal with. And I think it kind of made him very more grounded, even though it's hard to make someone like that grounded. So I like that they kind of kept that vibe for this movie a lot. That Deathstroke scene with Slade Wilson and Lex, that was supposed to set up the Batman movie, and I'm really mad that never got to happen because I wanted to see that Slade Wilson. He seemed like a really good actor. So
Is that the same guy from the Raimi movies that was the Flash bully? Because I saw...
it might be, actually. Yeah,
I saw
think
somebody
I'll
in the
look him up.
comments saying, I don't want to... Like, it was Lex Luthor, and he said, I don't want to fight you, Deathstroke. And then Deathstroke saying, I wouldn't want to fight me neither. And I was like, all right, there's only one movie that's from.
Yeah,
And-
that's him. Same guy, Flash Thompson.
Oh, my God.
So that makes 3 major Spider-Man trilogy because we had J. Jonah Jameson, and
Willem Dafoe.
yeah,
Oh, man.
and Green Goblin.
Where's Toby at,
The
bro?
Science Award Aquaman, that's fantastic. Could have broken that out.
Oh, no. Also, his hair in this movie, bro, what were they doing, bro, with old boy's
William
hair?
Dafoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw The Lighthouse a
Looked
couple
like
weeks ago with him
seaweed.
in it. He felt like he was almost playing his Lighthouse character in this role.
Oh, man. Is that all for reactions or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Evan, let's start getting into some of the stuff you wanted to...
Yeah, I'll try to run through my like point by point ones pretty quickly.
Mhm.
The separation with the sections I thought was a little pretentious. Like, he's not Tarantino, and like no one wants him to be. I wasn't huge on that, but that's sort of whatever. There were a lot of music cues in this, I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like there was very little chemistry between any of these characters. Like, and I'll expand on that a little bit later, but like that felt like a big detractor. Like, nobody really has like a scene together. Like, I don't think Superman talks to anyone from the Justice League ever, does he? If he did, I missed it.
He only had that one small scene with Bruce at the end for buying the bank, but that's all I
Oh,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and he talked to Alfred, but that doesn't really count.
Right. So, like,
Yeah.
there's really, like...
I mean, Cyborg called his name when they were trying to break the box apart. He didn't speak there, but
That
Had
scene
that
was
look.
really cool, by the way. I forgot to say that.
what?
Helping them die, or like times where you thought they were gonna lose, or I didn't think so, but like they make it seem like they were gonna lose twice. One with the cyborg nightmare, and then 2 with like the bomb going, the boxes going off, and Cyborg saying, "Oh, we're too late." I thought that was kind of cool that they just went a route that I didn't think they were gonna go. Cause I just thought it was gonna be a straightforward.
How did Superman get clapped by that explosion was my question.
Apparently, that's why I was concerned. I thought he, of all people, would survive it, but maybe he
Right.
was too close
If anybody.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, what else, Evan?
The final battle I thought was, like, fine. From what you guys are saying, it sounds like it's a lot better than the original, and I can see that. Like, it was decent.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen better, for sure, though.
Absolutely.
On the whole, like, I'm going to get into a couple other kind of, like, more overarching topics, but on the whole, I don't need to see this again. is kind of a overarching thing. So I had, like, 2 major, like, let me just say, like, I don't want to, like, take away from anyone who does like this movie. And I don't hate it, but there, like, you know, I approached it as a writer, of course, and there were a lot of things, or not a lot, but 2 major things that I felt like were weaknesses of this script. Pacing and dialogue were really the big ones. I'm going to start with, like, the pacing things. I felt like every scene could have been cut down by 25%. We just kind of stayed in scenes a lot longer than we needed to a lot of times.
The Flash and the Iris scene.
The slow-mo. I feel
Well-
like if you take out all the slow-mos and all that.
So the slow-mo, but not
movie would
not
be
just the
3 minutes
slow-mo.
long.
Like, there are just beats at, like, the end of certain scenes that no matter how slow he films them, they probably don't need to be there.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to see Alfred and Wonder Woman making tea together. Like, if that was
Yeah.
if
That
that built
probably could've
into a
been cut.
scene
Mhm.
where they, like, had a conversation and, like, built on their characters or something, then maybe, yeah, that works. But it, like, a lot of scenes, there weren't a lot of scenes like that, but that was one in particular where I was like, this would have been cut. Like, which is kind of a frustration I have with it, is like, for one thing, this isn't what we would have gotten, I don't think, in theaters. Like a lot of this, if he had shot all of this and they released it like under his name, he'd finished it with the theatrical cut, whatever you want to call it. A lot of this stuff would have gotten cut because it doesn't need to be in there.
Wait, can I interject real quick? With that tea scene, the payoff, I know what the payoff was, but I don't think the payoff was necessary as a viewer. So the payoff for that tea scene was to establish familiarity for when he invites the whole league into the Batcave. She's the only one who like recognizes him and everyone else is like introduced to him. I think that was the payoff, but I don't think that was worth it to justify that scene, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, because they do, I'm remembering the moment you're talking about, but yeah, that's like a tiny moment, that's nothing.
It's not enough to justify, so.
Yeah.
Also, how did they not have enough cups?
Right, yes! I thought that too.
Billionaire playboy, man.
One, it's 6 of them. 2, like, you're Bruce Wayne.
His superpower is being rich, man. You ain't got cups.
I have 6 cups.
More pacing things, like, I was never bored, but it got kind of exhausting. I don't know how much work Zack Snyder himself did on the script. Chris Terrio is the credited screenwriter, but I felt like whoever was writing it, like, I don't think they really had a good grasp on what the purpose of each scene was, because it felt like they kind of deviated from it and, like, didn't really give each scene the weight that it was meant to. And like that part of it, I think, is the slow-mo Snyder vision visual style thing. So like a criticism I've heard of him before is that he overdoes the slow motion. He overdoes like his big epic shots. And I've heard the criticism of Michael Bay too. And like, I'm not really someone who goes deep into directing things, but like I've heard people break it down, and it's like, it's kind of this thing where if you were giving us like maximum visual input on every shot or something, that might not be quite the right terminology, but if you're making every shot seem super important with like how you're using film language, over time that like dilutes it. It's almost like the Boy Who Cried Wolf effect, where like if you're telling us every shot is super important, then the ones that you really do think are important aren't going to land that way. They're just going to blend in with everything else. I think that was something that made this suffer. If you have so many slow-mo shots, you're making it so that you want us to think everything is epic. But if everything's epic, nothing is epic.
I wanted a slow-mo tea-pouring scene between Wonder Woman and Alfred.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we low-key got that in a couple places. Yeah. Look at this water falling. You guys really want to see this water falling in the cup right now. Like that's kind of the tone of a couple of things.
Oh, like, wait, Batman's parents didn't die in this. That's a sin.
Yeah, we didn't get another origin story.
We needed that. What happened to Batman's parents originally, man? I don't know. I need to be told.
Yep.
Or reminded.
I did like that we got the origins for other characters, and like to tie it into pacing, I think that was like the place where that was kind of time well spent was like, I think one of you mentioned it, like we did get a lot more backstory with Cyborg than apparently was in the original. I didn't see it, but I could kind of feel that like they spent a lot of time with him early on.
Yeah,
I think it could have still been done a lot quicker for the amount of like information we got there.
That scene when his dad kept him outside and he nodded at him. Oh, bro. And then Flash and his dad, that was also good.
Yeah, like that was all decent setup for the characters, but again, I think it took longer than it needed to. Like if you're going to spend that much time, like for the amount of depth the amount of time we spent with each of the characters, we didn't get a whole lot of depth, I don't think. For if it had been a 2-hour movie, I think we got enough, but it was 4 hours, so it just like stretched everything out. So when I say there's pacing issues, like I don't know that there's necessarily scenes I would say needed to be cut. I think you just could reduce a lot from each individual scene, and then it flows a lot better. And I'm not like exhausted 3 hours in. That might just be more of a me thing, but I'm sure I'm not the only one. Like it's a 4-hour movie. I'm sure I wasn't the only one who was feeling spent by the end of it.
Every time Lois showed up on the screen, I checked out mentally. Like I understood it had to be in the film for when Superman came back and got horny, but like I did not care about anything she was doing in her daily life.
Well, they don't really let you either. Like, I feel like she could be an interesting character. Like, she's a journalist, and they kind of do stuff with her, as I recall, in Man of Steel, with like her searching for Clark. They give her some time and some agency, and in this movie, she's not really like
waking up and going to his grave.
Yeah, she doesn't have a whole lot to do. So, agree with you there on that. So the other big thing that I took issue with was the dialogue. It's not the worst I've heard. It wasn't super eye-rolly, but like I felt like almost every line was either a bad attempt at a joke or really clunky exposition. And thankfully there wasn't a whole lot of it. It was pretty light on dialogue on the whole, but like again, I don't know who was like responsible for it, but with this budget you could have called someone in and made it sound a little better than this. Like there were a few lines in particular. I talked about the Martian Manhunter one. That was a big one. It takes me out of it because it dehumanizes the characters, and not in like a creatively intentional way. It's just like these don't feel as much like real people.
I feel like that happened with any of the Aquaman scenes where they were just trying to just explain that you're the rightful king and all this stuff. And I was like, oh man, they're doing the same exact thing they did in the Aquaman movie.
Well, maybe he was trying to set it up. Aquaman does not get a lot of time in this either. I feel like he's the one with the least attention given to
Half
him.
of his scenes are him shirtless, taking his shirt off and getting into the water.
Well, it's Zack Snyder, of course, and it's Jason Momoa with his like sick abs. So, like, it's kind of obligatory. Where I felt like the dialogue detracting especially is like anytime there was supposed to be like two characters connecting, I kind of alluded to this earlier, like I don't feel like there's any chemistry or really connection between these characters. Like, you know, we're kind of building up like the DC super team, so there should be some kind of like connection between them. I feel like I don't love the quips in the Avengers movies, but I feel like all of them at least want to be around each other. I feel like they've spent time together. These characters never like, I never feel like there's any history between them to speak of.
But Aquaman said "my man" to Cyborg.
Oh yeah, well, I forgot. I'm sorry about that.
I think you're wrong on
they
this,
must be besties.
And then, like, Flash and Cyborg fist bumped at the end.
Superman,
Evan, did you forget? Did you watch the movie, Evan?
At the end,
what did you do for
like? Right, he's going to his wedding
in slow motion. Did you? Yo, Evan. Did you watch this? What did you do for 4 hours, Evan?
I took notes. I was watching it, and I was disappointed by the dialogue.
Evan,
look, they really like. I don't know if this was like intentional, but like if they are trying to like ship any of these people, there's no one to ship. They had time to do it, so the fact that they didn't makes me think that. I mean, if we're taking this as Zack Snyder's creative vision, I don't think Zack Snyder cares about relationships between these people. But that's not surprising, because I don't feel like that's been something he's prioritized in any of his other movies. So, but like, you know, it showed up a lot when they were trying, like the scene between quote unquote Martha and Lois. I was like, that felt like the closest they got. Or maybe that and the scene where Wonder Woman met with Cyborg in the middle of the street. Like they were trying for like characters connecting there. That was like their best attempt, I thought. But
wait, what about Aquaman and Wonder Woman when they were digging up Superman? Talking about Atlanteans and Amazonians. Amazons?
I suppose that could be third place. But in all of those scenes, like, if you're trying to get humans to connect, they gotta feel like humans. And this dialogue doesn't let
human.
them.
They weren't human.
Okay, but like, if you want us to be invested, you gotta make them come off as human. Like, and apparently that's not the priority, so, like, maybe they succeeded there, but I thought that was a big detractor. A few lines in particular that I, like, rolled my eyes / laughed at in the bank. I don't believe it. Believe it. Like, that was kind of cheesy. Yeah, in the bank. When, like, Wonder Woman blows up or, like, throws the case up in the air, and the guy comes back down, the guy's like, oh, I don't believe it. She says, believe it. Like, it's just a very uncreative back and forth. Anything with the Flash also, like when they were trying to make him joke.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the
Yeah.
jokes were in the original, but I was like, I don't think whoever
It was pretty much the same.
it was.
With Flash.
Well,
yeah.
was it paced different though? Because it felt like they didn't really
No.
know what a joke is supposed to be.
No, it was just as bad.
Okay,
It was.
like
I don't.
yeah,
Like they're trying to make him the funny guy, and he's not.
He's really
doing
He's
not.
not even
with
really
that.
supposed to
Like,
be that.
and it's
funny,
not even-
Barry Allen. Like Wally West is like the jokester, but like Barry's a little more
No,
serious.
he's always late. So
They got that right.
That's, but
But the thing with the jokes too was like it's not even that it didn't like jam with me because like I've mentioned this before, like I don't really jam with the MCU's sense of humor, but like I can like I still feel like I get it if other people do. This it felt like they just don't really know how a joke works when they were trying to write it.
yep.
And I don't know if I could dissect that like point by point, but they were having lines like expecting that this was like this is in place of a joke, and it's like, well, you got to do a little more work there because this isn't how like that works.
Also, he looks really dumb when he's running. I thought they would
gotta,
fix that.
for that
They
Flash
didn't.
film. They
I
gotta
don't like
do
when he
something
runs.
about that.
He's like waving his arms like
It's
a
like he's
wacky,
swimming on land.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh wait, are you
Right.
Jelana, are you talking the guys in front of the car dealerships with the
Yeah, the wacky, wavable, inflatable,
Yes,
arm flailing
those
tube
guys.
man. He's running like he's that. Like,
Little bit.
I don't. He looks really dumb. I also don't like his suit. I don't like Flash in this movie.
I think he could be good, but like they didn't.
Uh,
I don't think they really spent enough time working with any of these characters to like make anyone identify with them in this. I think you could maybe make a case for some other ones. Like I was still like glad to see Wonder Woman from what they did with her in the first movie, but like I didn't feel like they really did anything in particular with like that Wonder Woman. Like she wasn't really the same character from the original movie.
Aquaman also felt like way colder in this movie for some reason. Maybe because he wasn't like yee-hawing like a cowboy every 5 seconds towards the end. But he felt like way more broody.
I think that
for
was
some
because
reason.
like when they dropped Aquaman, that was like when they were going with Joss Whedon's like vision. So every film after like Justice League with Joss had like a lighter tone. Like even Shazam had like a very bright tone. Aquaman had like this action like cliche like American film type vibe to it. So like I think everything kind of shifted the whole thing that Zack had envisioned. Because his whole idea of bringing Aquaman into like the universe was to make him darker and serious, which we saw here, but like they never kept that vision. Which goes back to like the higher ups at DC. They're not really coherent as to what they're doing.
Well, they're trying. It seems to me, and again, I haven't seen all of them, but from like a distance, it seems like they're trying to do different things and see what sticks.
Yeah.
And they haven't quite gotten it down yet.
They have so many films that aren't even connected to the DCEU coming out soon. What are they going to do with those? The Robert Pattinson's The Batman. There's another one I'm forgetting that's supposed to be released soon, but like none of those are even connected to this. Like what are they doing?
Like I said, I think they're trying to see what sticks. So maybe what sticks is, I mean, Joker is kind of what sticks, apparently, and that's not
that's the other
connected.
one.
So maybe that's why.
I don't know if James Gunn's Suicide Squad is supposed to be connected in any way.
Yeah, that might even
I
be
really
kind
wanna
of
see
similar
that,
to this
though.
in like a take two on something
Yeah.
that kind of flopped
Yeah.
like a
I
few
hope
years
that's
after.
good. I don't know though. I hope it is.
What are we, some kind of Suicide Squad?
Yeah. What are we? Some kind of Zack Snyder's Justice League here?
Oh, God. We just needed Will Smith to show up and say
Yeah.
that, and then leave.
Would have been money well spent to have.
I
him
thought
cameo
Flash
to
was gonna
do
say
that.
it, bro. I thought Flash was gonna be the one to make that. Like, yo, what are we, like some kind of lead that serves justice or some shit like that? Bro.
Yeah.
God.
This is from the same guys who gave us Save Martha, so you know. I feel like it's on the same level. One final note from my initial reactions. I forgot to say this. Oh, well, I guess two. To finish off with the dialogue, all the voiceover felt like it really wanted to be like powerful and carrying all this emotional weight. It really did not land for me. Maybe other people feel differently. I think they kind of whiffed with that. And then just an initial reaction that I forgot to mention. When they bring Superman back and they're like, oh no, where's the mother box? Like, none of you thought to go find it? Like, like when you're all running after Superman to like see where he's at. Nobody's like, hey, one of you, go find where the mother box is. That's kind of priority. Like,
The
that
team
felt...
is as coherent as DC's head people.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't make me want to root for him. It's like, again, that made it feel like they weren't really invested in saving the planet. Like, when he gets the third mother box, I felt like we didn't even get a moment of defeat there. It's like, oh, we got the third mother box. Well, I guess that was going to happen anyway, so let's just go with it.
Stop the unity.
Like, that didn't feel tragic in the way that it probably
It didn't. It didn't have any weight at all.
I don't even remember him like putting the mother box in for like the third time.
Right. We didn't get the like power up moment where it's like, now my villainous plan is coming together. It's just like, oh, well, now he's got the third one, so there's no like it didn't feel like the time. There wasn't even like I mean, I don't love this trope, but you know, maybe it would have added to it to have like a ticking bomb with it where it's like, oh, we've only got like, they said like we've got a few hours to do this. But
right, I thought it was about to be activated right away.
Right, there was like no urgency
already coming
in
together
in the climax.
They were still having tea.
They were all like, nobody was like, oh man, the world's gonna end. What are we gonna do? They're just like, well, if we don't do it, we're screwed. All right, cool, let's do it, guys. I guess we got to. Like, they didn't feel like they were really that invested. Yeah,
they were having tea with 2 cups before they went into action.
Yep, that's pretty much all of my things. This was more of a director's cut than I thought. Like I said, there was stuff that felt like should have been taken out that you just didn't need. On the whole, I don't think this is what we would have gotten had Zack Snyder stuck with the project. So to say this is his like original vision, I don't know that this is it. Yeah, you guys can get into it. I would, in comparing to the theatrical, like, do you feel like he took the reception of the original and that influenced what he did with this version? Is what I
don't think so. I think a lot of it was more the creative freedom that he had. Like, 'cause I know when he was filming Justice League, because of how bad Batman vs Superman did, there was a lot of like DC execs that would come to set every single day and like make little tweaks here and there or just keep a watch over him. And then he would always pitch things and they would like decline what he wants. So had he stuck with the original film and the events did not play out the way they did, we would not have got this film right here. It would have been a lot more different. It would have been closer to his vision, but it would not be the same film. Because he got a second chance and then Warner Bros. Gave him creative control and he's working for free and they gave him that budget for the film and the reshoots. That's why we got this film. In response to the fans, not at all. I don't think so at all. Because he didn't really like do anything that the fans have asked for, to be honest with you. The fans only asked to see his vision. I'm trying to remember, like they didn't want Batman to kill. That was one thing. They were mad that Superman didn't smile, which was stupid to me. They were mad that Doomsday got wasted. And like those 3 things didn't really get rectified in this film. Those are 3 things that I'm aware of that the fans had a problem with.
I mean, it's not like they could... Actually, the Superman smiling and Batman killing thing, he could have fixed in this. But the Doomsday thing, he kind of...
Yeah.
Like, what was he going to do? Bring him back and just have him run? Like, what?
Right. And that's kind of a third resurrection for him anyway, because it's already resurrected Zod.
It's Zod, and
so like
now it's Doomsday, and the same shit was used to get Superman back. Like, nah. That ship is pretty much the Lazarus pit at this point. Like,
I hate when comics bring back people, by the way. I feel like it's lazy writing when you like retcon or do a multiverse or like redo. It's like I can just do whatever I want and then like redo it and get a second chance. Sometimes with these,
they're still doing that. DC just did that again in the comics. Future State.
I'm not reading.
Yep.
So on the whole, did you guys like the theatrical better or this?
Definitely this. It's a lot better.
Wait, this is not even a question.
If the first one's like a 2 out of 10, this is like a 6.
At least.
6 or 7.
At least.
I'll give it. Maybe 6.
Comparison to the old Justice League, we already talked about a lot of stuff compared to like the theatrical, but my big question is, do you think the original Justice League had to happen in order to get this version, this 4-hour version?
I do. And I think it's because, I hate to bring it up, but it has to deal with how, unfortunately, Zack's daughter passed away. That was a big reason for him stepping away, because he was already having a headache dealing with the studio, going back and forth on what he can or can't do. Once he lost his child, he decided that he wasn't given the time he needed to his family, so he decided to take a 2-year break and like spend that time healing his wife and his children. And that was all kept under wraps. Like, even the actors didn't know what was really going on with the studio execs and his family. And then once things transpired about how Joss Whedon took over the film, messed it up, treated everybody poorly, cut out Iris West, cut out Cyborg's importance, and then on top of that, put Zack's name back onto the film, fans saw this as like, here we have a creative writer and director who lost a child, couldn't finish his vision, got blamed for it. Everyone attacked him for the film, even though it wasn't really his doing. And once the truth kind of came out, that's when he got a second chance. And I hate to be the guy to say that if it didn't go that way, he wouldn't have got the support. But to be real with you, like, comic fans, like, I see a lot, they're very, like, not forgiving. And they were quick to attack him, quick to blame him, quick to attack his name or whatever, not even knowing the whole entire story. Because obviously we're the audience, so we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So I couldn't really see another way for this to come out the way it did without it going that way, which is really unfortunate because a child's life was lost at the end of the day, you know? So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. And to say, I've kind of mentioned this, like, this is not the version we would have gotten, I don't think, if Zack Snyder had finished it. I think we're never really going to know what we would have gotten had he finished it. I don't think this is a good representation of it, considering the length mostly. Like, no matter how much creative freedom you get, like, Warner Brothers was never going to release a 4-hour movie. And I think some of it was reshoots, probably, from what I heard, or at least they, like, I think there was some redubbing or, like, VFX work that was done. I do wonder, though, like, first of all, I wonder how this is going to be received, considering the hype around it. But also, like, how would it have been received if we had just gotten whatever he was going to make? Like, I don't think there would have been that, like maybe, and part of it is that, you know, it's kind of living, not exactly in the shadow of the Joss Whedon version, but it's living in parallel to that, I guess is maybe a way to say it. Like, you can't separate the two. I mean, I can because I haven't seen both, but I think in terms of, like, for most people's reputation of this, like, I think the fact that this is better than the original, at least from what you two are saying, it sounds like it's better than the Whedon version. That is gonna matter. Like, I don't think better necessarily means good, but I think that may end up being the reception. In short, we would not have gotten this version of it without the Whedon cut and without Zack Snyder needing to step away and then go back to it. But I do wonder, like, can something like this happen again? Because it's not like we don't have director's cuts, but it is sort of an extreme circumstance where, like, it was an incomplete thing. Because, you know, there's a lot of cases of, you have, like, the Blade Runner director's cut, where, like, the theatrical is not real. I've only seen one cut. I don't know exactly which one is. So whatever one doesn't have voiceover, I've seen that Blade Runner. But I've heard about, like, the theatrical one with the voiceover, so people didn't like that. And then, I don't know what the word for it is. I think there's, like, a final cut and then a director's cut, something like that. The version that Ridley Scott wanted came out, and people liked that a lot better. I mean, the only other ones that are coming to mind are, like, you've got the Lord of the Rings extended cuts, which are just kind of like, I mean, everyone liked the theatrical cuts, and then they were like, all right, this is cool stuff we got in the add-on. I don't know exactly where the Snyder Cut is going to fall among all of those. I feel like it's a little bit unique, but it seems like the basic beats of the story seem the same from what I'm hearing. Nothing major is being changed.
Yeah, from start to finish, it's pretty much the same, like, major plot points. I think it's more or less, like, the way he gets there and, like, the wrapping around how it goes from point A to B to C, which, which from, like, watching the Whedon into watching this, it's like a complete different thing. And it's weird because, like, his wife said that, like, with all the reshoots, it made a total of, like, 3 to 4, maybe 5 minutes total difference of, like, new footage. So I don't know, like, how much of this was already shot or how much of this was just added CGI that he just had to, like, throw in there or, like, retouch or whatever. If it's only 3 to 5 new, like, minutes of footage, my guess is that the nightmare scene was the reshoots. Like, that's my guess.
Oh, did you notice they said we have to hurry? He's gonna find us if we don't hide soon. And then they spent, like, the next 10 minutes standing outside talking to Joker, and then he found them.
Wait, what part was that?
The epilogue, the dream scene at the end.
Oh, okay. I was probably taking down a note at that point.
They
or
were like, "Yo,
something.
we got to go hide because if we stay out here too long, he's gonna find us." And then like Joker and Batman got into like an argument. It's like, bro, like I thought.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Batman said the F
Yeah.
word, that he broke his one rule.
Isn't that right? Batman.
And make no mistake, I will fucking
I want to see that. I want to see that.
Well, oh, okay. Also, he said he killed Harley Quinn. When does that?
That's
happen?
like off screen
I
in
don't
that
know, at
timeline
some
if that
point.
ever happens. There's a script. There's like a storyboard that got leaked for Zack's Justice League 2 and 3 that I sent to Jay. I'm not gonna like say on the podcast for sake of spoilers in case it does happen. But I will say, like, after reading that, there's a lot of hints for what part 2 and part 3 was going to have. And I think that makes the movie better. But if you isolate, like, the little hints for 2 and 3, and you just take the film for what it is, and you ignore all the extra, like, you know, what transpired in Zack's personal life outside the film, I think the film is very much okay. It's not bad. I wouldn't say it's bad. I'd say it's enjoyable, but if you're not, like, a comic fan or you don't want to go out of your way to watch it, I would stay away from it personally. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's worth the
not
4
worth the
hours.
4
But if
hours.
you're like a fan of Zack or you're a fan of like, or you just want to see his vision, I think it's cool beginning to see like what if watching this felt like he had like a lot of care put into it, whether it worked or it didn't work. I could feel that he really cared and wanted to get his vision out. And it felt like I was like watching what he sees in his head, like a lot of like the inserts and the slow mos. Like you get like these little inserts here and there. Like whenever someone's driving, you see like a shot of their foot on the gas pedal. Like these really unnecessary like inserts and slow mo shots that like really make you feel like you're reading a comic book, so to speak. And I feel like a lot of studio films don't do that correctly. But Zack has a way of doing it where it feels like, even though it's exhausting, it feels like it's what he wants. And at the end of the day, like as a creator, like I respect that. If I take all that out of it and look at the film as its own thing, I don't think it's the greatest thing ever. I would give it like a 6 or a 7, like I said. But when you factor in like part 2 and part 3 and like an overarching narrative that he wanted to achieve, I think this film could have been something special, but unfortunately, we may or may not be able to see that.
Yeah, I think to kind of go off what you're saying there, like I think if you are a fan of Zack Snyder, this might be like the best Zack Snyder experience you could get. It sounds like none of us here really are Zack Snyder like big fans.
He's a great guy though. Like from what I hear, he's a nice guy, so I respect that.
I haven't really heard much on that, but I mean, I've heard Joss Whedon apparently is not in light of what he did with Justice League. Like it sounds like Zack at least treated the cast a lot better. Like nobody seems to. I haven't heard anything like that. But like I do wonder, like, is this gonna change where DC goes in the future? Like, is this gonna be taken as canon?
Question.
And like, how are people gonna view Zack Snyder creatively after this? Like, I guess more from a studio perspective. Like, are they gonna trust him, or has he lost fans through this? I think he might have lost some fans through this.
Really?
I personally would guess that he has lost more fans than he has gained through this. Would be my personal expectation. But that's also coming from someone who's very much not a DC fan and very much not a Zack Snyder fan. So that might not be very accurate.
From my perspective, I think he got new fans only because like the rallying cry for him to get this film made and it actually worked. But I do think he still lost a good amount of fans after Batman vs Superman, especially after like the director's version of that film came out and it made no real difference in terms of like the whole film. So I think if I'm wrong and he hasn't gained fans, I think studios are looking at him now because there's money behind his name now. And all they really care about is dollar signs. So whether or not like they trust him, I think they see his name as like a way to get like money because of how like popular this film like became like an internet phenomenon or whatever. Or a viral moment.
Yeah, I think he's gonna like still make money. They're gonna assign him to projects. I think creatively, I wonder what he's gonna do now because you know, a lot of the cry for this movie was like, we want Zack Snyder's vision. And that was my thing with the hype was like, careful what you wish for, guys. I don't think you really do. I don't think you honestly, if you know what you're asking for, I don't think you do. He's a really good visual director. He's not a storyteller. Like, I think he could make some really cool stuff. But I just think he needs to pair himself up with someone who can kind of like rein him in. Yeah, someone who's like understands like story structure and can help him maximize his potential. Because like I think his like cool slow-mo stuff, the way he does action scenes, that can be effective. I think he just loves doing it a little too much and doesn't know when to not. I kind of want someone to maybe rein him in, and I think there's someone out there who could be better. If Chris Terrio is really the one responsible for this script, I think Chris Terrio is not the guy to really maximize Zack Snyder's potential.
Yeah,
because I think he worked on Batman v Superman as well.
Oof.
Well, there it is.
Jelani, were you gonna say something about like DC, like where they might go from here?
No, I was gonna ask the question, like, where do you guys? Because not everybody is. It was just out yesterday. We're recording it the day after it came out. Like, not everybody is watching it. There are some people I know watching it this weekend. Like, there aren't a whole lot of videos out on it because I can imagine editing is hell trying to find clips from the 4-hour movie. The internet doesn't necessarily have an opinion just yet. I think everybody unanimously agrees it was better than the original.
Right now on IMDb, it's sitting at an 8.6 out of 10, which is really solid. It's at number 77 on the top 250. That's probably going to go down. A lot of times with movies like this, you'll see something go way up and then...
It was at 97 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I think it's at 78 now.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But again, like you're saying, Jelani, this is in like within the first... I think it came out, 30 hours ago? So that's like really early.
Compared to the original, which was like 20-something on Rotten Tomatoes, right?
Oh my God.
That is
Isn't it?
low.
I'm looking it up to verify.
Oh my God. That tomato never had a chance, bro. Jesus.
Yeah, I think the original on
it's at
IMDb
40.
is like a 6.3.
Okay.
Yeah.
40.
Which is a little below average. It'll be interesting to see where it lands. I don't think it's going to be... I think it depends on who you ask, probably.
Yeah.
For DC fans and Zack Snyder fans, I think it's going to be a very different reception. I, as a not either of those, am not thrilled with it. Maybe I'm like more alone in that opinion than I think, but maybe a lot of people are going to end up sharing, like, it is a little underwhelming.
It's going to be tough because Falcon and the Winter Soldier drops. So, like, if you're, like, in the comics, that's probably what people are going to watch. It drops today, actually.
Oh, that better be good, man. I wasn't looking forward to seeing it, really, to be honest. Like, I'm just watching it just to stay connected to the MCU and understand where they're going. But, like, I don't care. I had the same opinion about WandaVision, though.
The shows are a little too much for me. I'm about to start checking out, but that's another topic.
Jelani, I want to hear you talk a little bit about, like, just as a DC fan, did you feel more, like, served by this? Ahsan, I don't know how much of a DC fan you are, but, like, feel free to chime in there, too, I guess. Like, how did you guys feel like it represented, like, especially, like, Darkseid, I guess, is kind of, this is sort of his first film appearance. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Because he was teased in the last one.
Live action.
Yeah.
He's been in animated films and stuff, but I don't know if those count.
Nah.
It was cool. I still, again, I really wanted to see more from Darkseid, but as a whole, I like the different story being told, because this story is not really based off of any story. People are saying, like, he's pulling from this story and this story and this DC story, and I'm like, no, not really. I just appreciate the different take. It's not an adaptation of, as far as I can tell, it's not an adaptation of any DC story I've heard of or read thus far, so I honestly didn't know what to expect or what was to come and what's to come in the future. I enjoyed it. It was good for what it was. I don't think it needed to be 4 fucking hours long. Yeah, it was cool. I think I liked it more than the average watcher, though. Like, I'd say it's at least a 7, in my opinion.
So on the whole, you're not disappointed?
No.
Is what I'm hearing.
No. I don't know if it was... Like, this movie wasn't supposed to be made in the first place, so waiting, I guess, 4 years for something that wasn't supposed to be made in the first place, it's good for what it was.
For me, as a comic fan, I felt like I got my just due. I kind of, like, when I walked into this, I pretend like it wasn't a movie. I felt like I was just watching, like, I don't know, like reading a visual comic, so to speak. So, like, whenever it ended, it just ended. And kind of coming up, not that I have to come into something with that mindset, but by doing that, it made me relax a little bit and have, like, relaxed expectations of what I'm watching and just kind of, like, be a kid again, so to speak. I talked to Jay a lot about how I hate Darkseid. I actually liked him in this movie. I wish he was underutilized, but I liked how they made him seem like he's beatable to an extent, because in that first fight he was like got washed. Was a little bit too easily.
Yeah,
but
come on,
a little
bro.
too easily.
He got
but
zapped twice
my
by
issue
Zeus,
with
bro.
Darkseid is that he's just like only Superman can fight him, and he's just his true form is unbeatable. I just hate shit like that. But that's another topic. I'm not gonna go on a rant. It was cool seeing Darkseid. Like his CGI looked really cool. Like a lot of those shots with him in his lair and like the fire coming in front of the camera, it just looked really epic, so to speak. And I think a lot of like just seeing that in live action for the first time was really cool. As far as the comic goes, I like how they're going a different route that's not what I'm expecting, so I can't really predict what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, if you read the storyboards for 2 and 3, the overarching narrative of where they're going with the story, like it's something that like Marvel has never done. I don't think they ever will do it. Like they cross a lot of boundaries in DC that like if Zack got his full vision realized, I think would have been really cool and unprecedented in cinema history with comics. As far as this film goes, it was enjoyable. Just I wouldn't recommend it to everybody.
I'm a little worried that they're gonna be heavily relying on Superman in the future.
They needed more
because
characters.
They really needed him for this.
They need more characters, bro.
Yeah, they really needed him. They were like, "There's." Evan, you wrote the line down. There's no us without him, or whatever BS Batman said.
Yeah.
That's a little worrying because this is not even the big bad of the series, and you want him to take down like his son or nephew or whatever Steppenwolf is.
That's my issue with DC.
What specifically?
The power scaling, how like just the levels of like the villains in terms of like, so for example, look at Batman in this movie compared to Batman vs Superman. And Batman vs Superman, Batman's fighting regular humans, so he's like literally washing the whole entire warehouse without even breaking a sweat. But in this movie, he's fighting like the parademons or whatever they're called, and he could barely take one on by himself. Like the level of like just powers just keeps scaling, where it's like you need someone like Superman to fight most of your fights. Like Aquaman and Wonder Woman could easily handle the parademons, but they can't really take Steppenwolf. So it's like the levels of like checks and balances is not really like Marvel. Whereas like Captain America cannot beat Thor, but he can use his shield to like block Thor's hammer and like eventually, spoilers, lift up the hammer to fight back if he wanted to, you know? So like Marvel, even though there's like gods and like Greek beings or whatever, they have ways where like the little characters can like still maneuver a fight back, you know, if they wanted to. DC doesn't really do that in the comics.
I think the frustration I have personally had and that I've heard articulated by other people is not so much that like I think you are right that like there's an inconsistency with some people's powers, like you were talking about with Batman there. I think the issue I have is more in how the action is choreographed. Like someone, I forget who it was, but I've seen a video that like kind of breaks down how like, and I had this when I was watching Man of Steel. I was just thinking like if Superman just got thrown like through 6 buildings, like, and he's fine, and then him and Zod are fighting each other like that. Like, I don't understand what their limitation is. Like, so it's hard to get as invested in the fight when it's just like, or like when Wonder Woman and Superman are headbutting each other. It's just like,
that was funny.
They don't seem like they're getting more hurt. It's just the pavement is getting more cracked. Is like kind of the only thing that's changing as that fight is escalating. Like, I would expect there's ways they can be beaten. Superman has kryptonite, of course, but like, in fights where kryptonite is not involved, it's like Superman just has such a weird like such weird physics to him. I guess it's like right, but like it's hard for me to get invested in and like feel tension in a fight like that where I don't understand where like there's not clear limitations on these people. There's not clear. They never get hurt. So, like, it's hard to make that dramatic. If Superman can never get hurt, then when he fights someone, I'm never afraid for him. Like, and he never he'll just win on a long enough timeline. I'm probably not articulating it perfectly. I know there's like some videos out there that break down like why DC action sequences are kind of like they're missing something where like it feels like I've said like a video game.
It's like who could punch the hardest and the last time, you know. A lot of this fight.
Pretty much.
Right.
At least there wasn't like karate and 10 cuts per punch.
Oh my gosh.
Like a certain.
That's fair. Like the action does look cool. I'm not arguing that it doesn't look cool. That's a big selling point for it. But from a dramatic perspective, like there's not really a good back and forth. It's just like cool stuff happening, but dramatically there's nothing that like there's no real changes in like momentum for the fight.
There really wasn't. Yeah.
Also, like, side note, that's the first time I've ever seen Superman kick somebody.
Yeah.
Most of the time I see him in any animated, on any form of media, he's always swinging punches. He never lifts a leg unless he's floating off the ground. Like, he straight up front kicked Steppenwolf when he first showed up, and I was like, oh, he does know how to use his feet.
Bro,
Okay,
it's
cool.
crazy. Like, I said to my brother before we watched it, I was like, yo, imagine if, like, he kicked somebody in like, the Snyder Cut.
Like, even in, like, the video games he's in, he doesn't have any kicking moves in his moveset. Is that it? I mean, this doesn't need to be 4 hours long.
Please, no.
It doesn't need to be 4 hours long. Why don't we just go around and give our... I think you've maybe both given yours. What's, like, our overall rating of this?
7 out of 10.
I'm going to give it 6 out of 10.
Okay. I'm going to probably give it a 5. I guess we're sort of unanimously not great, but okay.
Yes.
At varying levels.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a good long movie to throw up in the background in case you're ever doing something. So you don't have to pay attention to, like, the Netflix, are you still watching this thing?
It's definitely good background visuals. It's like, it just looks cool. You can turn the sound off and just look at it. But...
That, yeah, honestly, like, that maybe is the best way to engage with it is, like, just like, it's almost like it could just be, like, a dynamic computer wallpaper, just, like, have it going in the background of, like, behind all of your apps. Like, because it looks very pretty, but, like, I feel like that's the best thing it has going for it. Should I go to the boilerplate, or do we want to get any last points in?
I'm done. Let's do the boilerplate. Are you good or something?
Yeah, I'm chilling.
Okay. Our next couple episodes are Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat,
Which Ahsan will be joining us for as well.
Yeah, so those are both HBO Max releases coming out in, I think, 2 and 4 weeks, respectively. Godzilla vs. Kong's like the 31st, and then Mortal Kombat, I want to say, is like April 16th. We have merchandise with the logo. There's a link to our products in the show notes. We have a Patreon where we talk about the Spider-Man trilogy, the original one that we don't like, only for $1 a month. Our logo's by Kelsey Hendry. We have our YouTube channel where we're starting to put up all the old podcasts, and we have our video essays. You can follow the show on Twitter at INTAnalysis18. I'm on Twitter at Davos Watson. And Ahsan, where can people find you?
Y'all can find me in real life. If y'all see me, say hi. If y'all don't see me, don't say hi. I'm not really a social media guy, so I don't really have social media. But, hey, if you see me, give me a head nod. I'll nod back.
All right, cool.
How are people going to recognize?
Hey, just recognize the voice and the aura.
You know what? That's not hard to do. Follow me on Twitter at Jelani T. Kelly. I'm on Instagram at Base Phoenix and Twitch at JBase Phoenix.
Follow me on there. You can see me on Jay's IG.
Yeah, shout outs to Ahsan for coming to this.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Episode.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
And he'll be here. Yeah, no problem. And he'll be here for Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat as well. So.
Can I get your guys' quick thoughts on your expectations for those two films? We don't got to go deep into it, but just quickly, like, what are you guys expecting?
Godzilla vs. Kong, a lot of the destruction. I still want less humans, but they're probably going to give us half humans in the movie. Like, I don't care for that. Mortal Kombat, I'm expecting to be gory, fun, not like solid as like a movie, but just fun to look at, like this kind of.
Got it. Okay.
But sure.
Okay.
Yeah, Godzilla vs. Kong, I'm expecting to be underwhelmed. I agree. Yeah, Jelani, we're probably going to get too many humans and not enough monsters. But I feel like we'll probably get plenty of monsters. It's just, I'm expecting it to be kind of basic. Mortal Kombat, I know very little about. I'm guessing there's going to be some cool fights, but yeah, I'm not expecting a whole lot of story in that one.
Got it.
So I'm not really expecting to enjoy that, for better or worse.
I have low expectations for Godzilla, King Kong, and then out of these three movies, I think Mortal Kombat, I'm hoping is the best. That's my expectations, but I have no way to prove that. So,
all right. If that's all, we will see you next time.
Yes. Bye.
peace, everybody.